Shalom, shalom. Welcome to the Blood of Judah. I'm your host, the Grand Nick Goose, also known as Blackjack. And we talking $5 Indian salute. And this is Blood of Judah Israelite Radio. I'm glad you tuned in. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe, like, and share the video salute. Because at the Blood of Judah, we make this content for the children of Israel. Like I said, once again, this is Israelite Radio salute. Hit me up in the chat if you're new. Let me know where you're from. But let's get into it. We talking $5 Indians. $5 Indians, that could be considered a controversial term. $5 Indians. A lot of people wonder where did that come from. Well, it's a long history when it comes to the word $5 Indians, but it all goes back to the Dawes Act. And I'm going to read an article that's talking about the Dawes Act and the origin of the term $5 Indian. And this was posted on July 25th, 2021 by Marlon Mosley. Yeah, let's dig into this, y'all. Let me get my screen together so I can read clearly. In 1887, the U.S. Congress passed the Dawes Act, named after Senator Henry L. Dawes of Massachusetts. The law regulated land rights on tribal territories in the United States. It converted the Native American traditional system of communal law land ownership into the private property land ownership we are all familiar with today. Before it could convert the land into private property, the government had to determine which Native Americans were eligible for property allotments. For this to happen, the U.S. government had to make a criterion of what makes a person Native American and therefore eligible. So take this into consideration. Here it says the U.S. government had to make a criterion of what makes a person Native American and therefore eligible. The U.S. colonizer had to make a criteria of what makes a person Native American and therefore eligible. So the colonizer had to say who was and who wasn't a Native American, basically. All right, the problem with that is we got this little thing called the Racial Integrity Act that was also created by the colonizer. Let's take a look at that. Colored person in Indians defined 1930. And colored persons in Indians defined from the Code of Virginia 1930. The General Assembly provides legal definitions of colored persons and Indians. Colored persons and Indians. You can't even speak of Indians without speaking of colored persons or Negroes. If you notice that in the law records. And we talking from the Code of Virginia 1930. So let's go back to what I started reading from in the beginning, though. The origin of the term $5 Indian. And I had to just make a relationship to that really quick. To let y'all see what's going on with the colonizer picking and choosing who's an Indian and who's not. And we talking the Dawes Act and the origin of the term $5 Indian that we first started reading from. And I'm going to go back to it. All right, before it could convert the land into private property, the government had to determine, the colonizers had to determine who were eligible and who was the Indian, right? The U.S. government had to make a criterion of what makes a person a Native American and therefore eligible. The U.S. government also had to make an official list of who was Native American. This list became known as the Dawes Roll. So the colonizer The U.S. government colonizer who was at war with Indians to take their land comprised a list that's saying who was Native American and who wasn't, called the Dawes Rule, so they can give out this official land allotment. The goal of the law was to protect the property of Native Americans, yeah, right, as well as to force their absorption into the American mainstream. So you wanted to force them to be absorbed into the mainstream, right? Like by way of paper genocide, reclassifying them as Negro or African American or just black. Forget about that tribe you was in and what your ancestors was in. You black now. You a Negro, basically, right? It wasn't to protect them. It was to do anything but protect them. A side goal of the act was to open up the remainder of unused. Open up the remainder. I guess they meant remainder. They got remainder. Remainder of unused Native American tribal reservation land to white settlers for a tidy profit. So you want to give the Native American unused tribal lands to white settlers for profit. The colonizer government wanted to take the Native American Negro land and give it to the white settlers, right? Like through sharecropping. The U.S. government came up with the idea of blood quantum. They came up with the bright idea of blood quantum laws to determine who were and who were not Native Americans. Paper genocide, right? William Plecker, blood quantum. They say, oh, if you look the least bit of a Negro, you officially ain't a Native American. You an African now. And they knew the vast majority of American Indians were so-called Negroes. So that's where you commit your paper genocide. You deprive them of their identity and say, nah, you ain't no Indian. The government, the colonizer, came up with the idea of blood quantum laws to determine who were and who were not Native Americans. A person's blood quantum is defined as the fraction of their ancestors out of their total ancestors who are documented as full-blood Native Americans. For example, a person with a parent who is full-blood Native American and another parent with no Native ancestry is considered half Native American. For comparison, many tribes and nations did not use blood quantum to decide who is a member of their tribe. One of the many problems with the blood quantum law criteria was to recognize Native Americans who were not considered either full blood or mixed blood by the test were essentially detribalized. They were stripped of their Native American heritage and displaced from their homelands. Like, the Indian Removal Act, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Gregory Smithers, who's an associate professor of history at Virginia Commonwealth University, explained another issue with the new law. He stated these were opportunistic white men. Opportunistic white men, right? Who wanted access to land or food rations. These were people who were more than happy to exploit the Dawes Commission and government agents for $5. Government agents for $5 were willing to turn a blind eye to the graft and corruption. In translation, white men with a hunger for more land acquisition paid corrupt government officials, agents, $5 to register on the rolls. So the whole roll is fraudulent. Everybody on that roll is fraudulent. Everybody. One bad apple spoiled a whole bunch, right? They and their offsprings, therefore, were fraudulently enrolled in Native American tribes and got access to the land allotments and benefits that came with the designation. This is where the term $5 Indian comes from. So, yeah, history of the term $5 Indian. White settlers paying the colonizer government $5 to be claiming that they was an Indian and take the land, right? So we go back to what this colonizer government was doing with colored persons and Indians defined, right? 1930, right? And colored persons and Indians defined for the Code of Virginia 1930, the General Assembly provides legal definitions of colored persons and Indians, huh? Yeah, we decide who a nigga and who an Indian, right? This was one of these so-called racial integrity laws passed between 1924 and 1930 in Virginia. Full text. Colored person in Indians defined. Every person in whom there is ascertainable any Negro blood shall be deemed and taken to be a colored person, right? And when it's the copper colored races, all the copper colored people was colored, right? They was all Negroes. Except the white people that paid $5 to get on the dogs roll, right? So they the real Indians now. And every person, not a colored person, having 1/4 or more of American Indian blood shall be deemed an American Indian. So long as you ain't a Negro, or you paid your $5, we're gonna deem you an American Indian. Except for that members of Indian tribes living on the reservation allotted them by the Commonwealth of Virginia having 1/4 or more of Indian blood and less than 1/16 of a Negro blood. You gotta be less than 1/16 of a Negro. Or the colonizer government says no. Why? Because just about all the American Indians was Negro. Paper genocide. You call them African Americans now and steal their land. And bastardize their children and teach them lies. Right? Then tribals Indians, as long as they are domiciled on said reservations. As long as they ain't a Negro. Why was the Negro excluded, right? Now they want to tell you Indians don't exist no more. They want to tell you they died off on paper. All of a sudden, you from Africa with no proof of any slave ship, no proof of any war, no proof of any general of a war, no proof of any captain of a slave ship, no proof of any tribe that was involved in the war, no proof of any country in Africa, no proof of any of that. Just a story and a couple movies. And a false education. That's all they got for you. Let's read from another article. Going Native, Why Americans Hijacking Cherokee Identity. And this was written on July 23rd, 2018 by Cicely Hillary. Yeah, it got a picture of a non-native person wearing a Native American war bonnet as a fashion accessory. It's commonly cited as an example of cultural appropriation. Citizens of the 3 federally recognized, all right, we don't care who federally recognized, the Naga. Till you recognize the Naga, you ain't recognize nothing. Watching it. Bring up the subject of Native Americans to any group of Americans, and at least one person will claim to have a Cherokee ancestor, pointing to high cheekbones and straight dark hair as evidence. All right, high cheekbones and straight dark hair. How? Well, the Nagas had curly hair and all the ancient historical depictions from the cigar tobacco figures to paintings like that painting the young Archer, all depict Negroes with short hair as Indians. I'll give us this New Jack hijack, dubbed the Cherokee Syndrome. So basically this article is all about, people want to play Indian. Let's read a little more. At least one person will claim to have a Cherokee ancestor, pointing to high cheekbones and straight dark hair as evidence. Chances are there is not a single Indian in his or her family tree. Salute. The Cherokee Syndrome, it is a growing trend in America. More than 819,000 Americans self-identified as Cherokees on the 2010 federal census, alone or of mixed race. By comparison, the combined population of the 3 federally recognized Cherokee tribes, the Cherokee Nation and United Kiowa Band of Cherokee in Oklahoma and the Eastern Band of Cherokee in North Carolina, counts to fewer than 400,000. Y'all, fewer than 400,000 white folks paid $5 to get on the damn Dawes Road. We don't care about your commission and your federal recognized nothing. We don't care what a colonizer recognized. You know, if the colonizer recognized it's the lie. We need to know about who the colonizer ain't recognizing, damn it. Who is the unrecognized wild urban Naga? I don't want to hear about no federally recognized, no Dawes Road fake $5 Indian. Let's hear about the American Negro, the wild urban Indian, the uncivilized tribe, that so you say. The real Native Americans, the real indigenous aboriginals, the real American Naga. Salute. Hit me up in the chat and let me know where you at. Because we right here. And if you here with us, we happy you here. And we've been here since the beginning. Shalom. Hey, it's a lot of people spread lies and false histories, but it's time people study what's real. Because it comes to a point where what you expect. You expect the colonizer to tell you the truth. The colonizer will lie to himself. He ain't just brainwashing you. He brainwashing everybody. He brainwashing his own children too. And his government, these Democrats, and these Republicans, you think they're your friend? When they've been at war with your ancestors since they came on your shore? Since Plymouth Rock landed on you? So don't make no mistake about it. This is your homeland. You are the American Indian. You are the Aborigine. You are the indigenous American, the American Negro, the black, aka the so-called African American, the so-called Negro. But you truly are the Aborigine, the prisoner of war. Not an African descendant of slavery. You're a prisoner of war on your own land. You was already here. They never brought you here. They found you here. They conquered your land here. And best believe they had a conglomerate. They had allies. They ain't come alone. They couldn't come alone. They brought all their allies from the Isle of the Gentiles. Came over to your side of the hemisphere. On Shem's lot, right? Over here, not over there. They came over here, conquered you here, brainwashed the children with this government educational system. The colonizer teaching your seed. They colonized your land, conquered. You subdued the Indian, colonized his land, conquered his land. Now you educate his children. You brainwash his children with this false American education. You tell a young archer he from Africa. You call him a Moor when he's an American Indian. Oh yeah, Google that. The young archer. Google the young archer. The young archer. Archer. And see what you find. It's time for the truth to be exposed. Ain't y'all had enough of the lies? Living this lie, this white lie, right? These fakes. $5 Indians. Telling you the Indian extinct though. When the real Indian is the American Negro. With no relationships to Africa whatsoever. All skin folk were never kinfolk. Like I said, they had a conglomerate. They came with allies. They conquered you here. They found you here. You've been here since creation. Salute the Drop Nation. Salute the Cootie Mayo. Salute the Aboriginal Power. Salute to everybody. Salute to UBTV. Salute to Dane Calloway. Salute to everybody that's bringing this truth. And if I miss you, I ain't trying to dish you. I mean, I just wanted to drop this on y'all about these $5 Indians, man, on the Grande Goose, a.k.a. Black Jack. This the Blood of Judah. Hit the subscribe, like, share. The Blood of Judah Radio. And we gonna keep this content coming. Salute. And we out. Y'all have a good one. Peace.